It's like that. Assalamu alaikum. We were always not like this. Our universe is expanding. It was something other than what it is like now. So transformation is happening. So what is it that made that transformation, which is this something? What are the qualities it must have to make the transformation?
Maybe one thing is powerful.
Powerful. Agreed. Without power, you can't do anything. So that thing possesses power. What else? I agree. So we now accept there's something that possesses power. Is that power intrinsic or borrowed from somewhere? Because there's no other thing. That thing always existed. It's intrinsic. Okay? So intrinsic, inherent power. What else to make transformation?
Intelligence? I don't know. Intelligence?
Knowledge?
I can't tell.
Okay. What about self-awareness? If that thing was like matter, like this, if you believe this stone is not self-aware, can this stone make pizza and pasta?
I don't believe it's self-aware. I believe it's. I don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
So
something different.
this stone to you is not self-aware. That stone that you're standing on cannot make pizza and pasta and macaroni, right? By itself. Or can it?
This stone might be.
Might be. I know it cannot because it's not self-aware. In the awareness of self-awareness, what we're talking about, it doesn't even know it exists in that sense. So how can it even make pasta? Does it even know how to make pasta? Does it even know that the stone exists? So are you? Let me ask you again. Do you really think that stone that you're standing upon, this ground, can make pizza, pasta, and macaroni?
No.
No, I agree with you, because to make pasta and pizza, you need to know how it to be made in the first place. You need to be self-aware. Without being aware, you can't do things like that. To make a transformation, right? You can't do any transformation if you're not aware of yourself, if you don't have awareness.
Maybe there is like some properties, for example, in this universe that led us to have this self-awareness.
If that universe is the thing that always existed, that universe must have self-awareness. Imagine now the universe is a big piece of stone, because it's matter, right? If the universe is composed of matter and no self-awareness thing, imagine the universe is a big piece of stone. Can this big piece of stone, without being self-aware, make any transformation?
No, but what if this universe contains some properties or whatever that maybe from that point we can go to self-awareness?
If it is not self-aware, like think about you. If you're not self-aware, for example, can you write a one-page letter to your employer saying, I quit, enough is enough, and send it by email, by Microsoft Outlook?
Yes, for me, yes.
If you are not self-aware, can you do that?
I can do it.
You can't.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know even you are alive, you can't make that thing. If the universe was a big piece of stone and not self-aware, it cannot make any transformation, and eventually that transformation gives rise to this universe. It's not logical.
I don't believe this, because I believe that the universe is complex. We don't know everything. We don't even know all the properties.
Whatever about this universe, if it didn't have self-awareness, how can it transform anything? Because it doesn't even know it exists. How can it do anything? Look, to do anything, first it needs to know that I am here.
So let's say we have this universe which is eternal, for example, and have some properties and rules.
That property, look, that rule has to be there, right?
Yeah.
So what is that rule that tells you, oh, it's going to happen?
I don't know.
Is it something that the universe is aware of or not aware of? The rule.
Either aware or not, I'm not sure.
Okay, if it's not aware of, where did the rule come from?
It's this is like eternal.
It's just simply saying eternal. It's like saying God is there. He's eternal. He's just there.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between someone saying God is just there with all the properties and universe is there with all these properties?
I mean,
is that okay?
We can name it.
Wait.
It's fine. We can name it.
Abdul Munim, relax. If somebody says God is there with all the properties, do you think this is blind faith?
I'm against self-aware, because we don't know either self-aware or not.
That's what I'm saying. If you propose a system, a concept of the universe which has rules, which are properties. God, instead of calling universe, now calling God with properties. What is the difference?
In this case, yes, I agree with you.
There is no difference.
There is no difference.
So that means people who believe in God with all the God's properties, they're okay to accept it, like you're okay to accept that property.
Yeah, but actually, those people actually add some, for example, self-awareness, intelligence.
Because they make sense. Without self-awareness, you cannot make anything.
I don't
Transformation.
believe so.
Hang on. Can you imagine any transformation can happen without an entity which is aware makes that transformation? Think about anything. Go on. Anything in this world. That transformation can happen without an entity which was aware that made that rule to transform.
Maybe I can tell you, the universe were
Come on. Don't make the universe as an exception, because that's what we're trying to understand, right? If everything in this universe demonstrates that you need agency behind any transformation, everything, whether it's a robot doing things, it was a human being that programmed the robot, yeah? Whether it's AI answering your question, human being that programmed the AI. Everything requires an agency which is self-aware.
In our world, yes. But
So if this is what we see in our whole universe, our world that we can think of, our world, right? When we go back and ask this, something that always existed, if he wasn't self-aware, what is your rational explanation that transformation can come from it?
I would say like either self-aware or not. There are two options.
I'm saying there's two options like you, right? Self-aware, not self-aware. If it's not self-aware, I am saying it's not rational to say transformation can happen, because it can't do anything. Because anything that is not self-aware, like this stone, cannot make pasta. You've already answered the question of why.
The universe is very complex.
No, the universe,
hang on.
The universe, even with this complexity, if it's not self-aware, it cannot make any transformation. That stone.
This stone and universe is not the same.
I'm saying the universe is like a big piece of stone, just to make it simple analogy for you. But whatever the universe is, whatever properties it has, if it did not have that property of self-awareness, it cannot make. What is your proof that the stone cannot make pasta? Then I'll tell you my proof. Sorry? Give me your reasoning why this stone cannot make macaroni, pasta and pizza and biryani for those who like biryanis.
Actually, I didn't claim, but...
But you agree with me. Are you disagreeing or are you agreeing?
I'm not sure. I mean, if you go deeper, might be.
Might be what? It can make pasta?
For now, let's say...
No, it's not for now. You, with your critical thinking, the whole discussion is...
Maybe because I didn't see it make any pasta.
Yeah,
there's no stone in this world that makes...
But with your critical thinking, do you really think a stone, any stone in this world can make pasta by itself?
This stone, yes. But universe is different.
Hang on, any stone. Why this stone cannot make pasta?
My reason is because I didn't see any stone that make pasta. This is why I don't believe it. If I see some stone that make pasta, I would believe it.
Do you think anyone has seen a stone making pasta by itself?
This is why we don't believe it.
Why doesn't the stone make pasta? What's our explanation for it?
Might be, I don't know, its properties doesn't allow her to make pasta. I don't know. Because they are not...
Because this is just matter. It's not self-aware. It's not self-conscious to make pasta. That is the rational explanation behind it.
Making pasta is not about self-awareness, because I can make a robot which is also not self-aware, but
you are the ones behind. That's why I said you need an agency with self-awareness to make transformation.
Well, this comparison between us humans, the universe...
No. This is beyond just human. Even if you're an alien, still it will apply. If you're not a human and you're an alien, the rules will still apply. You have to be an agent with self-awareness. Otherwise, the transformation would not happen. You can be a three-legged alien, right? Still, you would need self-awareness to make pasta, biryani, and pizza and macaroni. It's not I don't know. There is no other option. This is where you have to surrender to your critical thinking and say it makes sense.
I can't believe that universe...
I'm not talking about belief. I'm talking about critical thinking. use your critical thinking and say, does it make sense?
So can I tell you, for example, the universe contains, like it's very complex, contains some properties that we maybe don't know.
I am saying, do you know what you're doing? What you're doing is called the science of the gaps. This is what atheists in general do. They commit this logical fallacy called the science of the gaps. You're saying the universe is so complex. I am saying, have all the properties. You know, whatever you want, have it, take it. But still, out of these millions of properties, if that property, the single property of self-awareness was missing, no transformation will come, even if you had millions of properties.
Well, actually, you don't have proof. Just
look. When you talk about proof, what kind of proof did you use?
Science use,
look,
for example.
Do you think science would use the proof that you're asking that any stones in this universe, in our world, cannot make pasta? What kind of proof they would use? I'm using the same proof. The proof, the science...
You don't have proof? I don't have proof.
No, I do have proof.
You don't have proof.
You don't know what proof is. That's the problem, Dulmuniam. You have left Islam because of not critical thinking. What you're now learning is that we need to be more critical thinking. So as I'm saying, the universe, if it didn't have the property of self-awareness, it cannot make pasta. Not only that, I'm going to go one step further. Even if it was self-aware, but if it didn't have a will, volition, intentionality, it cannot make pasta. Like you, for example, you are self-aware, but if you don't have the will to make pasta, no pasta will ever be made. Never. Because you are not willing to make it. You have to will to write that letter to your employer, enough is enough, I quit. If you don't will it, it will not be written by you. So what we need is not only having power, meaning the ability, not only to have self-awareness, we also need the will. If there was no will, the universe will never come to this transformation. But not only that, we also need the know-how, the knowledge, transformation, like how different atoms recognize each other, break it down to quantum level, how they recognize each other, right? All of this intrinsic behavior and attractions and repulsions and then symmetry, all of these things, right? The spin, if it's going to be this way, why is the spin always like this way, anti-clockwise or whatever, right? It's because of these properties of knowledge embedded in all of these things. You can't expect the thing called chance making an equation to have thermonuclear fusion in a test tube, just like that by chance. Otherwise, scientists would not go to their lab, will sit there and just wait. Chance can make this. Oh, chance can make the next generation iPhone 18 or 19, whatever. It can just happen. This is not possible because knowledge is the key requirement. So if there was no self-awareness, no will, no ability, no knowledge, our universe will not have been transformed in this state while there was always something. These four essential qualities you already know because you were a Muslim before are what we give to our Creator. Someone who is Al-Hayy, someone who is Al-Qadir, someone who is Al-Hakim or Al-Alim or Al-Khabir, someone who has irada. He says, kun fayakun, it happens. He chooses. All of these characteristics is something that is meaningful, reasonable, rational, something that the intellect will accept without a shadow of doubt and reject the opposite. That's why Islam is a religion, belief, an ideology of critical thinking. It's exactly what I was establishing there, here, and to you. If you think Islam you left because of some, I don't know, people I know leave Islam for various reasons. Traumatic, emotional reasons is one. Okay? Not knowing much about Islam is another. Having inferiority complex is another. Like the West is more advanced. Islam, Muslims in the Middle East, wherever, not advanced, so it cannot be true. These kind of things. Right? Boyfriends, girlfriends, lots of different reasons. But never have I met a single person who left Islam. In my 30 or more years of talking to them, hundreds of people, it was an intellectual reason. Never. Never ever. Did you leave Islam because of intellectual reason? You could be an exception. What was your reason to leave Islam?
now, I believe like it's more convincing to not believe than believe, because I don't find any. Like, I'm not convinced by any religions.
Yeah, but I give you convincing arguments.
Actually, because you say it's convincing, does it make it convincing?
I give you arguments. Now, do you have a counter to these arguments? Because if you find my arguments not something that you can have a counter, and it's valid and sound, I can put them in premise, conclusion if you want.
And just because I can't say, because my answer is that I don't know. Maybe you are right, but I prefer to not believe until something like solid, like some proof, solid proof.
That's what's the proof given to you.
For example, universe is powerful. I agree with you, because if it's not powerful, we can't exist. But for the rest, intelligence and self-awareness and...
Do you know there are various kinds of proofs? What you are very much focusing on is called the empirical proofs. Empirical evidence cannot prove or disprove God, because science cannot go into that domain of metaphysical world. Science has a scope with the observational world, which is all that we can see.
Since we don't know a lot of things, so might be.
So the proof that you're seeking is like what probably you've heard. You're trying to detect plastic with a metal detector. That's what you're trying to do. And that's why you're saying, I don't see the proof, because you're using the wrong tool. What I gave you is what we call intellectual reasoning, rational argumentation, from reason, from logic, from rationality. These are the foundations of science. Science cannot operate without this tool. Science, which says we can arrive at the truth by making this inference, is based on these tools of rationality. If the world is not rational, there cannot be no science. There cannot be science. Science only works if they assume world is rational, if they assume they exist, if they assume there are laws operating in this universe. All of these assumptions comes from reason, not from scientific experimentation. They did not do any experimentation to know that, yes, all of this. This is why people often become in a state like you are, not knowing the tools to use to affirm the reality. We as Muslims, we have faith based on knowledge and understanding, not blind. Science, as people are, not me, hang on. Science or scientism is dogmatism, belief which is based on blind faith. That's scientism. That's a dogma that people are, Sam Harris, Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, these are the gurus of those particular ideology of scientism. But as Islam, as Muslims, our tools is based on rationality, based on understanding and reason. And we have additional, for example, now I'm going to give you something that you can think about it. The Quran offers falsification tests for people who doubt it's not from God. You know that. Quran says, وَإِن كُنتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِّثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ فَإِن لَّمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا فَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ الَّتِي وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْكَافِرِينَ. If you are in doubt as to what Allah has sent to His servant Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this Quran, then imitate a chapter like thereof.
I mean, I can ask ChatGPT and he will give me a chapter.
Let me finish translating for the audience. Even if you cannot do yourself, seek helpers and supporters to do this job. But if you cannot do it and you will never be able to do it, then fear the fire of hell, whose fuel is men and stones. ChatGPT, I did it. I asked, gave help and support for over 1 hour to ChatGPT. And still it came up and said, it is not possible.
Yeah,
because with the condition,
to do so,
it's not because of a program. You haven't watched it. If you type in my name, Mansur, Quran imitation, it will come up a video a few years ago, where based on the conditions of how to imitate the Quran, ChatGPT realized it's not possible. And we challenge every week, every conversation we have with non-Muslims to produce. Why? Because the Quran came in a unique genre. with such a version of Arabic, which is Arabic yet a new version of Arabic. The Arabs spoke in different languages. أَلَا لَيْتَ بِشِعْرِي هَلْ أَبِتَنَّ لَيْلَةً. You don't see anything like this of stylistics in the Quran. Quran comes with its own stylistic genre. It is not poetry, it is not poem, it is not like the bihar of the Arabic poems, like Al-Madid, Al-Khafif, Al-Tawil, Al-Rajas, none of that. Unique style. So when the Quranic unique style came, it revolutionized Arabic language into Arabic version 2. What one needs to do is bring Arabic version 3 in the same kind of revolutionary style, with every chapter of the Quran, every surah, has more innovation in stylistics than the total number of words. I recommend you to read a book by Dr. Ahmed Bassam Sa'i called Al-Mu'jiza. Yeah? And you will come up, it's available as a PDF copy free online. Someone made a PDF, right? If you read this book, you will see the scientific methodology, the objective nature of this challenge, and how when it's applied to different surahs, all of the surahs have this kind of unique stylistics, specifically this unique form with number of innovation, linguistic novelty, more than the number of words in the surah. Surah Al-Kafirun has 27 words. The number of linguistic novelty in this surah is 45. Right? 45. Surah, say, not surah, Al-Fatiha and Nas, every single surah. This volume 2 of this book has more than 20 surahs, unique, small, and shows each surah has more innovative features than the number of its words within the surah. It has a big surah, I think Surah Al-Fatiha, big one as well, same thing. So those people who doubt it's not from God, they can use ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Perplexity, Sonnet, Claude, you name it, Copilot, and still given the condition, if you can give the right condition in prompt, he will not be able to do so. Why?
I can do it. I'm computer scientist, and how does
be my guest, my friend.
To
give you an example. When the Quran said, for example, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, you think there's nothing wrong about it, there's nothing unusual about it. The Arabs that time, they never ever had a concept in their vocabulary called Al-Alamin. Alamin. They knew Alam, but never Alamin. People knew the word globe, but 200 years ago, people did not know the word globalization. No one knew globalization. We invented this word. The Quran brought, I'm giving one example out of many innovative features.
What does it mean, Alamin?
Alamin means plural of Alam, many worlds. And that's what we now realize. There is not only one world, there's many worlds.
What do you mean by world? Like civilization, society?
World could be this, our universe, the cosmos. There could be multiverse, one universe, another universe. There could be world of the humans, world of the jinns. In every possible way, there are many worlds. It's not just one world, right? Our world is not the only world. There are many other worlds God created.
It's possible, yes. But we
don't
even have proof.
But the Quran brought this concept. There is not only one world, like the Greeks thought or the Arabs thought, right? So when the Quran brings this kind of innovative features, in your style, you have to bring in innovations like this, which was not known to Arabic language. You have to bring Arabic version 3, in which whatever you bring, let me tell you the conditions. There are at least 8 conditions. It has to be in Arabic language. It has to imitate a particular surah. It has to imitate the stylistics of that surah. It has to have the number of innovation more than the number of words within the surah, right? It has to be meaningful and eloquent, not just mumbo jumbo like blah 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 blah, right? It has to be acceptable to the Arabs. So if you don't do this, I'm going to give you 6, there's 2 more, then it has to be in a new feature of Arabic literature. It has to be a new form of Arabic language, because Arabic, yet recognizable as Arabic and acceptable as Arabic. When the Quran says, for example, غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, in Arabic that you speak on, do you use غَيْر with la or غَيْر with غَيْر and la with la? Which one do we use? When we use in a construction, a sentence, when the Surah Al-Fatiha says غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, it didn't say وَغَيْرِ الضَّالِّينَ, it says وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. In the Arabic that we speak, do we mix غَيْر with la? Or do we say غَيْر with غَيْر and la with la? when we speak, yeah, لا أريد هذا الكتاب غير هذا الكتاب or غير الكتاب, when we use something like this, غير المغضوب عليهم وغير الضالين is your current Arabic. Can we use now in Arabic غير and لا or لا and غير? No, we always use لا and لا, غير and غير. Quran introduced this form, and it's only applicable in Quran and not in Arabic language today, before, now, or even after. Arabs will not accept it.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about...
So, no, the example I gave you, how the Quran revolutionized Arabic language in its structure, in its tarkib and ta'bir and sabika, right? We're talking about أساليب القرآن من الناحية التركيب والتعبير والسبيكة. سبائك, yeah? So patterns and expressions and all of these forms. This is what you have to do, not just photocopying the Quran, because the Quran didn't photocopy the pre-Islamic Jahiliyyah, the share of the Jahiliyyah. It brought new linguistic forms. Khaliliyya murrabi. No, Quran doesn't have anything like that. Totally different. So when the Quran says Maliki Yawmiddin, let me consider on Fatiha. The Arabs at that time of the Jahiliyyah, they never had a concept that you can be Malik of Zaman or Waqt. They said you can be Malik of Fars, Malik of Saif, Malik of debate. You can be the owner of a house, of a property, of a horse, of a camel, of a land. You can never be the owner of time. Allah says Maliki Yawm ad-Din. He's the owner of a day in which there will be recompense. To them, it was impossible in their vocabulary. How can be owner of time? How can you own time and say, I am the owner of time? So it perplexed and totally numbed the Arabs at that time, bringing these concepts. And they realized he's actually not only the king and Malik and Malik, he is going to be on that day where he is in control. وَلَهُ الْحُكْمُ وَالْأَمْرُ, at that day. So this is what Quran did to the Arabic language. If you're going to do with your computer science expertise, by all means, bring a version of Arabic language, version 3, in which there will be new constructions, new ta'birat, right? New sabaik, not Quraniya, new sabaik Abdul Munimiyya, for example, right? Yet, it's Arabic and accepted by the Arabs. You, me, whoever speaks Arabic. If I spoke to you like, Kemonacho, do you understand it? Kemonacho. If I said this is Arabic version 3, would you accept it? It's an Arabic? He wouldn't even accept it. So it has to be so novel, but acceptable. Kemonacho means how are you, by the way, in Bangla?
And by the way,
right?
The Quran is not my... The Prophet, for example, had to explain a lot of things about Quran, so not everything was understandable.
The Quran explains the Quran. Al-Qur'anu yufassiru ba'daha al-ba'd. It explains. When this says, Suratun anzalnaha, and Allah explains what it means. The word surah, the word Quran, the word ayah was not known to the Arabic as the Quran explains it. They knew what surah was, offense, but the Quranic surah is not like offense. It's a thematic unity. They had qira'ah, qari', but not Quran in this form. You would not find in the corpus of Arabic poetry that the word Quran exists. But the Quran introduced that لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصديا من خشية الله. It explains what it is. It says الله الذي نزل, and many ayat describing that Allah sent this book. This is a Quran. So any new vocabulary Quran introduced as a novelty, it explained what it is. So people don't have a problem saying, oh, now I know what a surah is. Now, oh, tilka ayatul kitabul mubin. I know what an ayah is. It's evidence. It's something that demonstrates something to be true. So you, to do an imitation, you have to bring Arabic version 3 in such a way that it's going to be acceptable, my brother, there, to me, to all the Arabs.
I disagree, actually. Quran is not fully easy to understand.
What part of the Quran? Give me an example. Which part of the Quranic ayah is not clear to you?
I don't know. Like, I read the Quran and
Give me an example. if it's not clear.
I'm not.
The Quran has multiple layers of meaning, but in the obvious meaning, apparent meaning, is understood. When the Quran said, for example, "Siru fil ardi fanzuru," go travel on the earth or in the earth? In the earth. The commentators, they explain fi means ala al-ard. But today we know we can travel in the earth, inside 1 mile, 2 miles, and look at those bacteria and other things, and look at how life evolved there and so on. Exactly what the Quran is saying. So what they knew then, what means siru means ala al-ard. But now we know fi, even though it could mean ala, but actually fi means fi. It means in the earth. Go travel in the earth. So we bring multiple layers of meaning. It's like peeling an onion. You know one meaning outside, you peel it, a different meaning, but more additional. It will not contradict the earlier meaning. You peel another piece of onion ring, onion, you know, onion, how peel the onion? Onion, basal. When you peel the layers, right? Take one layer, there's another layer. Take that layer, there's another layer.
Well, actually, this is the reason why I refuse to believe in Quran, because like
what?
It's very it's written in a way that's like difficult to
No, it's not difficult.
understand. So like,
look, I'm not an Arab. I find it beautiful the way it's explained, how I understood it. You as an Arab, and you don't even know what it means.
No, because I find contradictions. Some people explain it this way.
Some people, because of their level of understanding, they can explain it that way. But the Quran is in the Arabic language, Arabian Mubin. It's clear in the Arabic language. If you didn't know, for example, say, look, the Quran says, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ مَاءٍ دَافِقٍ يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بَيْنِ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ. The word tara'ib is the only time it occurs in the Quran. So how are we going to know what the word tara'ib means? Tara'ib. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ مَاءٍ دَافِقٍ يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بَيْنِ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ. The word tara'ib only occurs once in the Quran. Only once. So it cannot give another explanation of what it means. So how are we going to know? We can go to the pre-Islamic poetry. مُهَفْحَفَةٌ بَيْضَاءُ غَيْرُ مُفَاضَةٍ تَرَائِبُهَا مَسْقُولَةٌ كَالسَّجَنْجَلِ. Ibn al-Qais, he explains, this is the portion where you hang your necklace. That's called tara'ib. Yeah? In the poetry. So the language is there. We can find the meaning. That's why the Bedouin were the best people to tell you what it means. When the Quran says, كَانَتَ رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. It was ratiq and fatiq. One of the companions, he was thinking what it means. He went and he saw two Bedouins arguing with each other, and they're using the word ratiq and fatiq. I said, I know what it means. That's ratiq and fatiq, because that's the language there preserved with the Bedouin. Now we've come away so far, and the language is being contaminated various ways, but the Muslims made sure one thing. They preserved the language in their dictionaries. You can go to Kitabul Ain of Al-Farahidi, the earliest dictionary that you can find. Kitabul Ain, published, available. And look at the meaning. Not a modern meaning today, 1,000 years later. Earlier meaning, earliest meaning. So what we are saying is, when you look at the Quran, when the Quran says, if this Quran was other than from God, لَوَجُدُوا فِيهَا اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. If it was, وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. If it wasn't from Allah, you would find many ikhtilafan. Guess what? Someone might say, there's another ayah and it says ikhtilaf. The word in this particular form only occurs once in the Quran, like tara'ib. So one cannot go and say, I found two ikhtilafan. It doesn't exist. But that's not what the Quran is saying anyway. But even to that level, there is not more than ikhtilaf, one ikhtilaf. So when the word says Quran, there's no ikhtilaf in there, Muslim scholars as well as Greek scholars as well as logicians, they say, to find contradiction and ikhtilaf, tanaqud, between two propositions, there has to be 8 conditions. 8 conditions to be fulfilled. All of them. 1, 2, 3, up to 8. There isn't a single human being on planet Earth today that can bring between the Quranic ayah contradiction or tanaqud fulfilling 8 conditions. Because that's a true contradiction. Quran challenged and everyone fails. You can now do that exercise with the help of other linguists, with the help of logicians, people who are in literature. Where are the 2 propositions in the Quran which is contradictory? And do it fulfill? Does it fulfill the 8 conditions? You can ask ChatGPT. That's why I ask people. Every time you think you found a contradiction in the Quran, go and ask an AI model. Give them the 8 conditions and ask them, does it fulfill the 8 conditions? And surprise, surprise, you'll find it will never be able to fulfill all the 8 conditions. Because it's coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what it says. وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ لَوَجَدُوا فِي اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. If he was from other than Allah, of course, because it's from Allah, that's why it's not with any contradictions. That's why, brother Abdul Mun'im, I urge you to rethink and reconsider and reflect on what we've said so far.
Maybe I have another question, one last question.
Go ahead, ask, because we have to go and pray Maghrib now.
I think one of the reasons why I left is probably morality. I mean, it's not logical, but mostly...
Yeah, morality is emotional thing. For example, do you believe morality is absolute or relative?
I think it's relative.
Exactly. So you can relatively say, I agree or I disagree. So that's why that is not an arbitration.
I still prefer, for example, about hell and paradise.
You think why there's hell? Why people are punished in hell?
I know. I believe like it's not fair because I believe the test is not fair. For example, like I just gave you my name, you already knew that I was a Muslim. So where my name?
So if I, for example, go forward in time, yeah, with a time machine, and I see some people and how they die, and I come back and I say, this is how they're going to die. Am I causing their death? Just
no,
because I know it.
Like my idea is that, for example...
Do you get my point? If I know it already, how they died in the future, am I causing their death?
But technically I would say, like, why did you even, like, I knew that I would die, but you are mad.
Let's break down your problem that you have in this issue.
But I didn't say my problem.
That's the reason you left?
Actually, let me tell you my problem.
Go ahead.
Let me give you my example. Someone who was born in a Muslim country, in a Muslim family,
yeah,
and someone else who was born here might be in
Christian family or atheist family, yeah,
in Christian society, whatever. I believe that people who are born in Muslim family, or society, have more chance to say Muslims than people who are born in Christian or whatever religion in non-Muslim country.
Okay, let me tell you why I disagree. Because every human being, they are accountable only when they reach the age of reason. When they reach the age of reason, they're able to think about these existential questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? If they followed blindly like a sheep, then they haven't used their aql, the intellect, for which they were actually being tested with. Every individual, whether they were born here as a Christian family, when they become in the age of reason, after the age of puberty, they're able to use their reason. They know they can ask this question and the question should come to them. Why? This question, if they said, I'm not going to now, listen, I'm going to keep on following my forefathers, my mother, father who was Christian and so on, they've already failed the test. A Muslim, they also grow up and they also see the Western civilization with high peaks and so on and so forth. You're an example. You're from an Islamic civilization, Muslim family, right?
I left Islam when we're living there, so it's not...
Fine, but many people in Islamic world, like in Arab country, do you know how many mulhideen are Arab underground? Too many.
But still, the majority are Muslim.
No, what I'm saying... No, my point is, even in living in a Muslim country, they're becoming atheists or leaving Islam. So why so? Because at some point in their life, when they reach the age of reason, they are thinking, what I believe, is it correct or not? So it's not which family you're born with, it's to do with, have you come to a state where you're thinking and reasoning? That's where it differentiates with, are you going to follow like a blind sheep, blah, 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 and you're going to follow it, or are you going to use your intellect?
There are people who are Muslims and they don't use their brain to think. They just simply follow the religions as they...
But ask them, is it possible that you can make a camera or a stand by itself like that? Or do you need a maker? They will say, you need a maker. They may not have gone to university. They don't have PhD. But they'll say, how can you say this camera can come by itself? And if you ask them, yeah, it can. Like the universe can come by itself. They will say no. They will say,
the universe are not the same. So
look. In fact, the universe needs more of a maker than this. Something less complex than the universe needs a maker. Look at the logic. Something less complex needs a maker. And something more complex doesn't need a maker. Does that make sense?
I agree there is a maker, but...
So, wait, no. Logic. I'm talking about logic of someone who is, say, our grandmother, our grandfather, right? Who's not educated. Many people's grandparents are like this, living in villages and so on. If you tell them that something like this needs a maker, the universe doesn't need a maker. They will say, what do you mean? What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Because something less complex needs a maker. They will say, of course it needs a maker. How can it just come by itself? And the universe is more complex. They know that without you telling them. It's more complex. They can see it. And they will tell you it does need a maker. So it's not blind faith. It's reasoning. They might not tell you, but they use it.
Yeah, well, actually, might be this faith they have is from what they were born.
But the reason is there. The reason
is there.
But they could have.
For example, when I was in school, they teach me Islam. My parents teach me, so I was surrounded by Islam. So I had to learn a lot of things. But here they don't teach them about Islam and this way. So
they teach you something which is not part of the reality. They teach you how to make more money, how to this. That's the problem with this materialistic world. So what I'm saying in regard to your question, people have equal chance. Why? Because God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, judges people based on what they are able to do. And He does not burden anyone more than they can do. People who are atheist family, born in an atheist family, the person grows up, that person, if they have been given the faculty of intellect, they can use it and reject Christianity. The people who are born in a Muslim family, they can use their intellect and they can confirm that Islam is true. Because it's the use of reason and intellect. It's accessible to all. Whether you're poor or rich, God is giving you the intellect. The people, by the way, Abdul Mun'im, the people who have not the ability to use the intellect, they would not be judged. The pen is lifted from them.
So, for example, my question is it like, I mean, for example, I find it unfair, for example, someone who like born in a Muslim family, they don't do research at all, like just... Like,
that's their laziness, we need to change that.
What's happened to them? Like, if you continue...
Various reasons, I explained over there, and over here as well. The reason Muslim civilization collapsed is because they became lazy. Because at one time they were the leaders of the world. They were like, I am the leading the whole world in science and technology and so on. So their ego came into the issues and they became so relaxed. Oh, let's relax. And that's why they were not practicing. They went into entertainment, harems. They had all of these things, right? And they corrupted the infrastructure of the government. The government corrupted them in a cyclical process. And that's why external influences saw the vulnerability and then they infiltrated and then eventually made it collapse. In 1927. No, all of these people will be responsible for what they didn't do, but that's the sad reality of being lazy and not being responsible. But that doesn't take away that they had the truth. They had the truth, but they were lazy.
But actually, the truth, they didn't make an effort to reach it. They just, their parents just put it
No.
And they didn't even search.
They
didn't receive that truth.
Look.
They will go to hell, but those lazy Muslims, they will go to paradise.
These Muslims, if they, look, Allah says, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. What's the condition to be a Muslim? To be born in a Muslim family? No. فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Know, have knowledge. If these Muslims, if you ask them, do you know? I mean, why don't you do the experiment? Go to a family like you're thinking of and ask them, how do you know Allah exists? Do you know Allah? Do you know that He's the creator? You'll be surprised of their reasoning. You just assume they don't know. You just assume, and that's the problem with your particular reasoning.
Like they learn it, like
learning is what we are saying.
They
everyone should
from
learn.
Their family, from school, from society. They automatically learn it. But here they
learn too. But why are they mislearning?
No, the same of teaching is not the same. When you're young, you are easy to brainwash and put those ideas in the child head.
Who is putting a restriction for them to learn in this way? It's the people. So the people are responsible.
And
change it. You know it. You change it. Go ahead.
But it's not their fault for normal person.
People's faults of having an education.
The rest shouldn't go to hell just
no. If God gives you the reason and you don't use it, it's not God's fault, it's your fault. You are to blame.
Yeah, of course, but my point is that some Muslim who doesn't use his mind...
He is using their mind.
No.
I disagree.
I also disagree.
Find me a Muslim. Next time come here. Look, I've been coming here for more than 30 years, maybe 25, 30 years. Find me a Muslim who doesn't use his brain in terms of like, is Allah one, if Allah exists or not. Find me a Muslim. If you can find one Muslim, then we can talk.
Or let's say they were learned those facts from a young age.
Whatever. The issue is they are using their tools of the reason. In the West, the demise of the West is because of the people. The people are to blame. In fact, those people who go astray, there's two categories of people. An individual who's misled because he didn't use his brain, he goes to hellfire. And that individual who was misled by his community, his other people. So the people that misled him, they will not only be responsible or blamed for misleading others, he will have his own punishment as well as the punishments of those who he is misleading. Double penalty. If, for example, you don't use your reason, you will be penalized. And if you mislead others, you will also be penalized for their misleading. So you'll have double punishment, treble punishment, and so on.
And you think that I'm talking about the person who are like misleaded. That person, what?
The one who's misled.
His fault.
No, it's his fault not to use his reason. If he didn't use his reason, God will ask him, I gave you this reason, what did you use it for? How to have girlfriends and boyfriends and Prada and...
I guarantee to you, like if you bring someone from Muslim country, put it here and
Look, the issue is, people who have been endowed with reason, if they don't use it, they are to be blamed. If they have been penalized and punished, it's for their own fault not using their brains and their reason. If you say, oh, they were misled, the one who misleads also will be punished for misleading them, and they will be punished for their own not following their brains, double punishment. But it doesn't take away the responsibility of oneself of not using the reason. That's why in Surah Al-Mulk, when the angel says, did they not come to you? أَلَمْ يَأْتِكُمْ نَذِيرٌ قَالُوا بَلَى قَدْ جَاءَنَا نَذِيرٌ فَكَذَّبْنَا وَقُلْنَا مَا نَزَّلَ اللَّهُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. That's what they said. Allah has not revealed anything. But they will confess. وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ فَاعْتَرَفُوا بِذَنبِهِمْ فَسُحْقًا لِأَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. They will say, had we listened, وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ, if we listen to those prophets and messengers, our naqil, or we used our aql, our intellect, faculty of reasoning, we would not have ended up in this place. The angels of hellfire will ask them, really? I mean, did you just drop here in hellfire from nowhere? Did they not come to you? I'm just making this up. Did there not come to you people warning you, warners? Alam ya'tikum nadhir. Did not warners come to you of this day that there is hellfire? They will say, yes, they came, but we rejected them, we belied them when we said God doesn't reveal anything. But then they will confess. That's why the aql is there for a reason. And if you don't use it, and you end up in hellfire, you are to be blamed.
You are treating other people the same.
I'm treating all people endowed with reason the same.
Yeah, but I believe
Equal
the
opportunity.
intelligence of people are different. There are smart people and there are maybe not smart people.
To use aql, you don't need to be smart.
Treat them all the
Excuse me,
same.
brother, do you accept that Muslims read the Quran?
Yeah, of course.
Do you accept that when they read the Quran they understand it?
Yeah.
The Quran is the only holy book that tells us to go and ask questions. It forces us to do that.
My
Yeah?
experience with
The
majority
brother
of Muslims
left
is that,
Islam.
like
right?
majority of them doesn't
Brother, he
read
left
it
Islam because he
they-
has some moral issues.
because
we
if
discussed
they
that.
search, they would read. Other
Anyway,
religions, but
I have to go to pray Maghrib now. I think I've given you enough things to ponder, my brother. Enough things to ponder. Do reflect seriously, because you know that this world is not just an illusion. You know that there has to be something that always exists, as we discussed. You know that this something that is transformed, all of this must be for a reason. And I gave you some essential properties that this something has to have. Self-awareness, will, power, knowledge. And of course, we could have given you many other characteristics. And I told you why the Quran can only be from this thing that always existed, the necessary being. And I gave you the reasons why the Quran offers falsification tests so people can engage with it intellectually, with reason. Reflect on all of these things. Reflect on it, and then perhaps one day we come back again and I see you as a Muslim, bi'idhnillah.
Probably not.
Up to you. The choice is yours. Take care. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. We have to pray Maghrib, inshallah.